Let's get the clap together.
Hell yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
Oh my goodness, that was perfect. I can't believe we get it so perfect every time. It's almost like it's done in edit.
We give each other the clap flawlessly.
Over and over again. That's got to be a health concern.
Why do you do this?
Giving it back and forth, back and forth.
That's the way these things go.
Isn't that what made Mozart, like, insane or something?
I thought his was syphilis.
Oh, that's right, that's right. Yeah, I'm getting my STIs.
Is the clap the same as syphilis? I don't know.
I don't know. Clap is chlamydia, and syphilis is syphilis.
Ah, okay.
So, yeah.
One makes you lose your nose.
Which, I don't know why they call chlamydia. Why do they call chlamydia clap? Shouldn't they call it clam? You got the clam?
Well, it starts with CLA, so...
Because you're clapping those cheeks.
Okay, I'm gonna lift that as a sound effect.
The origin of the name is not certain.
Hi, everyone. This is Screenshare and Chill. I'm Kelly.
I'm Keith.
I'm Jamie.
And it's spooky month.
It is. We're doing all spooky movies compared to the last few movies that we did that were all kind of spooky, too.
It just happened that way.
It's the real spooky month.
Screamshare and Thrill. Insert lightning and thunder noises. Wait, lightning doesn't really have a noise. Thunder is the lightning noise.
Yep. You played yourself.
Congratulations. You have learned something today.
The redundant Department of Redundancy.
Well, we watched my favorite horror movie of all time.
Yes, we're going in our usual order, and it starts with Keith, and he picked the 1978 classic that I'm sure you all have heard of before.
Halloween, the indie horror movie that kickstarted the slasher genre, starring first-timer Jamie Lee Curtis and directed by horror auteur John Carpenter. And I love this movie.
So this kickstarted it, or did Psycho's? Because you've used that line before, I swear.
Psycho is like the prototype, right? But this kickstarted the genre as a like cultural thing. Like you got this, then you got Friday the 13th, then you got Nightmare on Elm Street, then you got Scream. It's like it went like this, blew it open, you know.
Okay, so this brought it to
Yes.
the slasher genre that we're more familiar with.
Right.
Would this be considered a slasher?
Yes, it would be. And it's also not technically, I don't think, the first quote-unquote slasher movie, but it's the first, like, one that, you know, made it to the major culture and not just relegated to underground horror movie circle things.
How literal is the slasher title? Like, if you have a Halloween where he goes around shooting everybody with harpoon guns, is that still a slasher movie?
Guns don't really. You have to have some slashing. There has to be ripping and tearing or things of that nature. So if it was
stabbing and slashing and
yeah, if it was all guns, it wouldn't be a slasher movie.
That would be a gunslinger movie.
What if he strangled all of
Although, James Cameron challenges that because the structure and pacing and overall presentation of the first Terminator is pretty much a slasher movie with guns. So that's...
Yeah, I've always been under the impression that Terminator 1 was a horror movie with sci-fi trapping.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Much like Alien and Aliens kind of play with those genre lines and stuff like that. Even though a lot of people consider Terminator 1 like a real early sci-fi movie, I'm like, yeah, it's got sci-fi elements, but that's not where the story lingers. The story lingers on the horror of being chased by an unstoppable robot.
Yeah, and I don't think you have first Terminator without Halloween. There's a lot of similarities of the, you know, like when he stands up out of the burning truck at the end of Terminator, it's like, oh, geez, he's still not dead. You know, very, very similar sort of pacing and structure with the wow, he just won't stop sort of thing.
Didn't he write Terminator?
Who?
Carpenter? Who did?
No.
Who did Terminator?
Cameron. That's all.
Oh,
Cameron.
right. James Cameron. Yeah. Okay.
JC.
Yeah, that's John Carpenter, James. Yeah, Jesus Christ. You know, they're all kind of in the same boat.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, now that we lost the few Christian viewers that we have,
and now we're canceled.
Well, we never really got off the ground to begin with, so it all kind of works out just fine. So this movie has a special place in my heart because this movie came out literally on my birthday. This movie was released on the very day of my birth. I'm not even sure if I'm going to say that out loud on the pod or not. But it's the close relation to my birthday has always made this movie kind of like I grew up with this movie. This movie came alive the same day I did. So I've always had a little bit of a weird connection with it. But
you're old.
Now,
yes.
Have you watched this in earnest before I kind of pleaded you to? Had you seen it before then?
No, and this movie was one of the reasons why we started movie night at the beginning of the pandemic, because, Keith and I are sitting around bullshitting. We didn't have movie night or anything like that back then, and he was asking me, well, what did you think of blah, 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 blah? And I said, well, I've never seen that. And then it came out that I had never seen Halloween. I had never seen Alien or Aliens. I had never seen a couple other, like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. And Keith is like, holy shit, how did you not see these movies? And like, you're a sci-fi fan and how did you bump into all these different, so I think the first movie we watched was something else. I don't remember
Alien.
The first one.
Alien.
Yeah, Alien. And then this was like the second or third movie that we watched in movie night. And I didn't think I was going to like it because it was a slasher movie, and I don't get into gore. I don't get into jump scares. Those are things that I don't really appreciate in horror movies, and I always associated them with horror movies.
You don't like old movies?
And then I watched this movie.
Yeah, it's also
I don't generally like older movies, but I mean, the 70s are the cusp for me. They're kind of like when things started to get a little bit more modern, the filming characteristics, and the acting was less stage acting. It was more film acting, which this movie, I don't know if this really qualifies because the acting is a little hammy at parts. But, yeah. So yeah, this will be now, like, I think the second or third time I've seen it ever in my life, even though it's been around, and all of those have come within the last 4 or 5 years.
Does it still hold up on a multiple watch? You still enjoy it?
Oh yeah, and the multiple watches allow me to kind of like relax into the movie a little bit more, and it allowed me to settle in a sense that I wasn't worried as much, so that means that I was able to kind of chuckle more at the idiosyncrasies of the characters. I was able to make fun of the people in my mind a little bit more. And so this viewing, and maybe it's because we're doing it for the pod, so I'm thinking a little bit more from a comedic lens at times. But this time was actually like kind of fun, and I was enjoying mocking it a little bit more than I did the first couple times. First couple times I watched it, I was really kind of creeped out. This one was a little bit more fun. It was equally like, spoiler, I had a good time, so like it was still good. It was just a very different type of good.
I actually noticed a couple of shots and things that I hadn't seen before on this time, since I was watching it so closely for the podcast, which is nice. I always like when I discover something new that I hadn't seen before. And I've seen this movie upwards of 20 times, so that's saying something. But Jamie, this was your first time watching this. How did I guess, not your full thoughts, save that for the end, but how are you looking at this on the other side of seeing it?
Well, the first thing is that it's remarkable how similar your conversation with Kelly about never having seen it was with your conversation with me about having never seen it, because I am a horror film buff. I like horror movies. I don't really like gore, but I do like a lot of the slasher films, anything with a lot of tension and that sort of thing. So the conversation was almost identical, and I found that amusing. But I did like it.
Yeah, I just need people to see and like the things that I like, damn it.
Yes.
That's the whole thing.
So you're like the anti-hipster. You're like, it's cool, watch it. Instead of, it's cool, don't watch it.
Yes, exactly.
I never understood that mentality. Like, this thing is really cool. You wouldn't like it. Why don't you want other people to like it?
Yes, here I am, imagine me holding a jack-o'-lantern, like, stuffing pumpkin seeds down everyone's mouth. Like it!
People that gatekeep media, especially, like, nerds that gatekeep fucking nerd things make no sense to me. Like, if you're really into Magic the Gathering, for example, and a bunch of, like, attractive people show up at your Magic the Gathering tournament, why are you not being like, come on in, hello, can I get you a fresca? Like, well, I don't get it. But anyways, sidetracked.
So Halloween, we start off on Halloween night 1968 with this sort of super awesome long tracking shot, the killer POV. We see a couple with the guy pressuring the girl to go upstairs so they can, get it on, bounce chicka wow wow.
And they have the world's shortest
Yes.
sexual experience.
It's literally like under 2 minutes when he's coming back down the stairs. Like, come on,
Under
my
2
guy.
minutes from them walking up the stairs to him walking back down. Like, let's say it took him 30 seconds to get in the room. It took him 30 seconds to get his clothes off, 30 seconds to do the deed, and then 30 seconds to put his clothes back on. Like, oh my God. I'm almost impressed.
Yeah.
Wow, you are really fast.
It bodes well for me that speed impresses you.
Like, how did you do that? That's very economical with your time, buddy.
And it's very funny because it's like stereotypical guy thing when he's coming down. He's like, "Oh, it's getting late. I gotta go." So he's just like a 30-second champ, and like he's like, "Oh, I'm tired. Time to leave."
Jeez, like the way that they frame sexuality for teenagers in some ways seems so accurate, and some ways it's like, I don't remember it being like that, but I don't know. Maybe if you ask some of my exes from high school, they might disagree and they might go, Kelly, really?
I really enjoyed when she said, "You're going to call me tomorrow, right?" And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Totally.
This is a talked about shot because it seems unbroken. There's a little movie magic trick when we see the hand reach down and pick up the clown mask.
I was going to say that would be the only cut, right?
Yeah, that is where the cut is, where they restart from where, because it goes black for a split second while you put the mask on, and then we're back to unbroken tracking shot. But it's really effective because it feels like a one long unbroken, like 7-minute tracking shot of this stabbing of this girl. And if you don't know what you're watching here, a lot of people don't automatically assume that it's a child at first, but as he comes out and the parents come home and they say, "Michael," and take off the mask, it's a 6-year-old boy standing there with an emotionless face holding the knife as the crane shot pulls into the sky.
I did not know that it was a child. I will say that.
Oh, so what was that twist like for you?
I was like, ooh, okay. Oh, okay, so obviously we're going to jump ahead here at some point, because obviously I've been around long enough to know that Michael, in the movie as a whole, is an adult. So
this isn't like a child's play.
Right.
Yeah.
Little kid running around stabbing people in the ankles.
Right. So I was like, okay, we're jumping ahead. I was really concerned that the whole movie was going to be shot through the eye holes for a bit, and I was annoyed by that.
It's a real stylized piece. It's very avant-garde.
I was like, this is cool for a second, but if the whole movie's like this, Keith, I'm coming for you.
Yeah,
it's been 40 years of people enjoying this movie because nobody wants to be the one that looks dumb.
Right?
What if it's stupid that we watch everything through the eyes of a mask? Yeah.
I wonder if there's a movie out there that does that.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Yeah. I'm sure some art project in San Bernardino, California is 90 minutes of looking through the eyes of a mask.
So then we jump ahead 15 years to 1978, and we're introduced to my favorite character in the franchise, Dr. Loomis, the crazy psychiatrist who carries a gun and screams at people. He's wonderful. He's a bit of an Ahab, is what the terminology in slasher movies has come to be known.
Okay,
yeah. You can see the obsession, but like an Ahab that you agree with, rather than an Ahab from Moby Dick, where you're kind of if you're reading Moby Dick and reading the subtext, you're kind of rooting against Ahab continuing his revenge plot, whereas with this, you're rooting for Loomis and you're thinking he's the only one that's paying attention.
Right.
Another thing I'd like to think about, like, I don't know if this is a thing that happens a lot in movies or not. I haven't really paid attention to this, but if you think about it, if this movie came out on the 25th of October and when we start the actual slasher part, the modern day of the movie, nonetheless, you're looking at 5 days after when the movie came out. So now you have people, imagine the release date. You have people in the theater on a Friday night or whatever, Wednesday night or whatever fucking night of the week this was, and they're watching a movie where it says 5 days from now, this is what's going to happen. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know many movies, because most movies like to distance themselves from the current day or make it kind of fluid, where you're not really sure it's set in the current day, but we don't know if it's September 12th or May 4th. We don't know that. So I wasn't sure, and I was like, maybe if there was a way to look that up. I'm curious how many other movies were released with the movie starting a couple days from now in your world, like, because a lot of people are watching this from their suburbs, so like maybe that played with the mentality of thinking this could be us in a few days, and how many people 5 days from now, like, You know, were they turning on their lights all throughout their house just because they don't know if the boogeyman is outside?
Right. Well, this movie was a bit of a horror sensation and really freaks people out, particularly because of the ending, which I guess we'll talk about when we get there.
So we have to talk about the theme song. Like,
Yes.
I didn't realize that John Carpenter wrote this himself, right?
Yep.
He wrote the theme, so that's incredible. You have a filmmaker that is also a musician and composer and can put this together. It's a simple phrase, but like it works really well with the key changes, going to the obvious key and then switching it up.
It's iconic as fuck. You hear it everywhere.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
oh yeah. The overuse of dissonance is wonderful, and so childhood me learning how to play piano. My mom started me out on learning like Mozart and stuff like that. So like Sonata in C was like one of the first songs I learned how to play. Now on my own time, the songs that I learned how to play because I learned from friends and stuff were I learned Axel Foley's theme from Beverly Hills Cop, the do, and the next song I learned was this. This was like the third song that childhood Kelly learned how to play on piano. And my family and my mom and everybody thought this was really odd for me to learn how to play this on piano.
That's not creepy
But
at all,
it was-
Kelly.
It was wonderful, and I used to fuck with people with this song all the time. Like, if you can sneak onto a piano where nobody notices you're there and just kind of duck down, you start playing the theme song in the background, people are looking around like, what the fuck? Am I in a goddamn slasher movie right now? But also from a musician point of view, not to nerd out too much into this, but as a child, this theme song, learning how to play it, like any musician will tell you that you learn a piece differently when you learn how to play it. You learn the ins and outs of why the melody works, why different tones work. This movie taught me how to use dissonance as a young kid. Because, as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid, when you're thinking about music, you want the happy sounds, you want the candy sounds, you don't want dissonance, you want everything to be melodic and harmonic. Whereas this was the first time that everything was off, and I learned how that can be cool. It's just another tool. It's not wrong. The song's not wrong for being dissonant. It's a tool. And so John Carpenter, indirectly, the filmmaker, taught childhood me how to write better music. Taught me more about writing music.
It's also it's so simple, the themes in this. And there's, we say the theme, when we say the Halloween theme, I'm referring to, there's like 3 or 4 major what are they called? It's all this, I guess it's all
motifs, leitmotifs,
score. Yeah. So
expressions, however you want to.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's about 4 motifs or expressions. They're all really simple, super effective. And there's one that's evokes Jaws too. It's that dun 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 dun, and I love it.
It's so simple, and it's a heartbeat, like we were talking about with the last movie. That he took the heartbeat and he made it a little bit more tonal, and I absolutely love that. And I didn't even know doing this, but I've done that in my music, thinking I want a heartbeat, but I don't want a literal heartbeat in this song. Let's find an instrument to be that heartbeat, and using like the bass keys on a piano. Perfect. And there's something elegant about the fact that he's got all these synthesizers and everything, but one of the main instruments in this is just a raw fucking piano.
Yeah, raw
and it doesn't even sound like a fancy piano. It sounds like a cabinet piano that like was tuned last year, kind of thing. Like it's pretty good. It's a good piano, but it's not fucking perfect, and I dig it. And I don't know if it was necessity is the father of invention, or if it was intended, or a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But the music in this movie, I don't want to go on and on throughout our whole review, so I just get it out of the way now. That it was simple, brilliant, perfect, thematic, combined different elements of modern and traditional, and chef's kiss to Mr. Carpenter.
Yeah, my last thoughts on the score are of that Jaws heartbeat thing. And then the dissonance that you were talking about comes in, because it's that, right? But then it's that high pitched ding 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 ding, just hammering in the background. It's almost like that, the Joker music of the ever escalating violin chord. It's just shrill and it doesn't stop, and I love it. Mwah. Yes, chef kiss to the soundtrack.
And that dissonance, he even uses it during the softer bits. And that's like, so the first time I learned how to play this was like the usual, the da-da-da-da-da-da. And then it kind of calms down into the...
Yeah.
And while that's happening, you hear in the background just dissonant notes, just right next to each other, half steps separated. It's not used like Psycho where it's wee, wee, wee. No, It's used as a light in the background, letting you know that right around the corner, right behind you, right around that bush, something's not fucking right. Oh, I love it. Perfect.
And yet they're still so similar. To me, like, they're still so similar. The sound in Psycho and the sound in this, they're both just very simplistic, very minimal sounds, and they're both iconic, and they both tell you something not good is happening.
Yep, absolutely. And both movies are made better because of the soundtrack. The soundtrack influences that. We talked about before about how one mentality of looking at soundtracks is if you didn't notice a soundtrack, then the soundtrack was well done. And there is a school of thought that says that. Another school of thought would say that the soundtrack can become a character as much as one of the people you're seeing on the screen. And in this movie, that's the case. Psycho, that's the case. The soundtrack I can't imagine watching this movie without a soundtrack. It would have been kind of boring.
Star Wars, it's a character in the film.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And even in this movie, it's a sparing soundtrack. There's a lot of times where there is no soundtrack. There's a lot of silence while you're watching this movie. And I think that really helps contribute to the effectiveness of the actual soundtrack when it's there.
Yep.
Because it's not overused.
So back to the movie, there, Dr. Loomis and his nurse are driving to the Smiths Grove Sanitarium to transport Michael to a hearing where Dr. Loomis is going to try and convince them to just keep him locked up forever. We get a lot of exposition, but it's not heavy-handed. This movie does a lot with a little. It's extremely independent. Its budget was like $320,000 in 1977, and the box office went to make $70 million. So that's why we're still getting these movies today. That'll, money talks, and this movie made.
The weird thing for me is watching that nurse fucking smoke in the car. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were right in the middle of a point. I thought you were getting near the end, but the nurse smoking. Whenever I watch these older movies, even from like the 80s and stuff, the fact that people are smoking so casually in places. I was watching I watched a clip from a movie the other day from Payback with Mel Gibson, 1999, and I'm thinking 1999, that wasn't that long ago. But he's in a diner and he's just blowing smoke all over the room, and everybody's just sitting there talking to him, and I'm thinking, oh my god, nowadays people would be calling the cops on you, people would be like trying to fist fight you in the diner, like smoke, just little things like that our culture has changed so much that I just imagine walking around anywhere in the 70s. It just had to smell like an ashtray.
Yeah,
the entire world smelled like a goddamn ashtray.
Yeah, everywhere smelled like shit because everyone smoked everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
But you didn't know it smelled like shit because everything smelled like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like medieval farmers. Like everybody smelled like BO, but nobody knew what BO smelled like because everybody smelled like BO. So did they stink? Not for the time.
Yeah, right.
Imagine somebody walking past you with that like ripe onion BO smell, and you're just like, ooh, I want a piece of that. Would they smell us with perfume and deodorant and be like, what the fuck is wrong with those people? Yeah. It smells like chemicals.
That one smells more Vidalia onion than red onion.
Yeah, those onions have caramelized, baby. They've been cooking for a while.
And so this sort of leads us to the first, what I consider this is creepy. Because, the opening, someone gets stabbed, horror movie, yada, yada, yada. We've been there a million times. But as they're rolling up to the sanitarium, like, the headlights go past the fence, and I think lightning flashes, and we see inmates just wandering around on the ground, and that in itself is fucking scary. And
the first person with a gown is like, uh-oh. Do they let them wander the yard? Do they let them wander the yard? No, they don't.
Wandering mental patients is never a good thing. That was my first note there.
They often let the inmates out into the yard during a fucking thunderstorm in their fucking medical gowns at night with no supervision, just wandering the fucking field into the roads. We do this every Friday if it's as a treat,
And so Loomis rightly knows. He's like he knows what time of year it is, and he's like he knows that this is Michael. He doesn't say as much, but he like runs out to go check to the guard post, and that's when Michael climbs up into the car and steals it and drives off into the night.
I just gotta say, I thought it struck me as odd for the time period that the nurse was the one driving the car too. Because that just feels so out of sorts for the time period, their positions. Like, it would be very rare for somebody in a superior position to give that control over to an inferior.
I imagine in the 70s, even if it were her personal vehicle, he would probably just as a gentlemanly act ask, would you like me to drive?
Well, Dr. Loomis is very progressive.
Well, I guess, but I mean, I don't even think that was progressive for the 70s. I think that's like being kind to women by like helping them do menial tasks that apparently they're unable to do on their own.
Oh, sadness. Right. And then after this, we cut to the classic neighborhood scene where we get it's not the title card, but it's almost like a reiterance of the title card because they've been showing the dates and the location, and it says Haddonfield, Illinois, Halloween. And we are introduced to the young Jamie Lee Curtis in her first role, which is a lot in this movie is somewhat homage and inspired by Psycho, and the least of which not being Jamie Lee Curtis being the daughter of Janet Leigh, Psycho actress.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lineage there.
And I know you look at me and think, well, Nepo baby, that's why she's there, and I totally get it.
In our short catalog of movies, we've reviewed 2 movies from this family already.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Wachowski sisters coming up. We need a Matrix trilogy, that's all I'm going to say. You hear me out there, people? Make the case. We need a Matrix trilogy. We got to convince these 2. Not that you...
Yeah, I don't think you need to convince either one of us very much. We're just trying to figure out where we're going to fit it in.
So poor Jamie Lee Curtis, I was about to call her Tommy Lee Curtis.
Please don't.
Poor Jamie Lee Curtis, one of the few things then, if this is her first movie ever, one of the first things ever committed to film of her speaking is her mocking a 6th grader for being dumb.
Yeah.
Lonnie Elam is never going to get out of 6th grade. Yeah. Like... Ma'am, you are almost an adult.
It's such a teenage thing to do, though. Like it's so
hardcore.
I don't know. I don't think I spent a lot of time in high school mocking 6th graders. I just thought it was funny that that's the first thing that we really get out of her, and she's the sympathetic character. It always strikes me as odd the things that our filmmakers have our sympathetic characters do, and if you look at it objectively, you're like, that's kind of an asshole thing to do, but whatever.
So she is tasked by her father, who owns, we can see from the magnet on the side of his car, Strode Realty. She is Laurie Strode. She has to drop a key off at the old Myers place because he's going to be showing it off at some point this week. And she does so against the little kid, her neighborhood child, who she will be babysitting later, Tommy.
Seth Green, you mean?
Yeah, it does look like Seth Green.
He's funny. A little Seth Green. Yeah. I was like, I had to look it up. I'm like, no, wait a minute. Is that Seth Green? No, well, yeah, he is.
He's smart enough to warn her that you don't go to that house. That's the boogeyman's house. Stay away from that house. But, the adults and those near adults are less inclined to listen and believe that sort of thing. So she has no problem with it. But you should have, because guess who's home? That's right. Michael is there watching her from inside the house. Sees her and is, I guess, instantly intrigued, smitten. I don't want to glorify the obsession and stalking or anything, but that's kind of what happens here, right? He sees her, and it's like one of the first people he sees, and he gloms on like instant obsession with this Laurie Strode girl who walked up on his porch.
Well, this is where like the beginning of the ambiguity for Michael Myers kind of comes in too, because like there's this whole thing that kind of goes throughout the movie and possibly through the franchise, because I don't know, I haven't seen anything but this first movie.
That's not true.
But there's like, we watched the continuation H2O or whatever they were. Yeah. But I mean, I haven't seen like Halloween 2 and 3, the original continuation of the story. But I get this impression that it's never really answered what Michael Myers is. Like, is it a psychological phenomenon? Possibly. How does he survive gunshot wounds and stabs and stuff like that so easily? Is there a supernatural element? Possibly, but he doesn't ever exhibit any powers necessarily, and everything that he lives through, it is possible for a human to live through that.
Yep.
Just not very probable. And this is where it starts to begin, so Michael Myers gets out of insane asylum, and where does he go? He goes to his childhood home. That kind of makes sense for both sides. If he were an evil spirit manifesting, he wants to go to the place where he made his first kill and find more victims possibly, or relive his first kill in memory. If he's just a regular guy that is suffering from some major psychotic episodes and psychopathy, he might want to go back there to remember his childhood or try to relive those events in his own way. Like, it's already ambiguous.
It's a safe space for him, yeah.
Yeah, you don't know why he's there, but whatever his reasoning, you can kind of see where it makes sense. He didn't go looking for Lori. He was just there checking out his old house, and she happened to show up. Like a beautiful teenage girl shows up at the doorstep the very moment that he's thinking about killing his sister, the beautiful teenage girl.
Right. Instant obsession, and we're treated to that great little scene that's very telling of her walking further down the street, and his his shoulder and collar come into view. He's stepped outside the house to watch her, and she's singing the song. Does anyone remember the lyrics to that song that she's singing?
No.
It's "I wish I had you all alone, just the two of us."
Oh, I did note that when you were doing that.
Yeah, I remember thinking it was creepy, but I don't know the song, so
it's sort of it's a setup for the whole thing. I wish I had you all alone, just the two of us. I'm gonna stalk this girl that I am obsessed with now, and this is now my whatever, my single drive, my psychopathy is leading me to this, or whatever it is, my compulsion. And just instant creep factor up to 10. Now we know someone is following you.
I want to know what the hell is going on. What the hell is going on? Evidence. What the hell is going on? Are you questioning the validity of my plan? Evidence. You don't know what any of this is about, do you?
And this is kind of where that whole slasher morality started to come into play, right? Like this, who gets to live and who gets to die. Well, the people in this movie are the ones that smoke and drink and have sex. Lori doesn't do any of those three things, and she lives in the end. And
she smokes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, she does smoke, but she doesn't. But even then, it's like a very, it's not a defining characteristic for her. She's not doing it a lot. And Michael Myers, quote, Michael Myers doesn't see her do it, so it doesn't count for his morality play. Because it feels like the reason why he killed his sister is because she had sex. It feels like maybe it had nothing to do with it, but I don't know, you know.
Speaking of the morality play, my ex-girlfriend used to say that slashers are like have the morality of her grandmother. Like her grandmother operates on them, you know, like, what are you drinking, smoking, and having sex? I'll kill you.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna get?
Yep. Yeah, that's just grandmas out there. It's just like 90-year-old Karens out there policing it. Michael Myers is a Karen. Did you see what she was wearing? That's it. I could fucking kill her for that.
Yeah, I can't believe that you're just like that.
He's a catty old gay man or something.
What do you expect? I will say, I was surprised by the lack of gratuitous tit in this movie.
Yeah, there's
only like 2 times, 3 times.
Yeah,
there's also not a lot of blood even in this movie. It's near bloodless. No. There's some blood on knives, I think, and maybe a little. You know, there's no.
But there was a shortage at the blood store, right along the shortage with the physics department, like holding people up with steak knives. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
So she's on her way to school, and we have the iconic scene of her in class, and they're talking about destiny and fate, and she looks out the window, and there, standing outside of the stolen car, this white-faced phantom just standing, watching her. She looks back, he's still there. Teacher calls on her. She answers the question. She looks back one more time, and he's gone.
But he's really small, too, so it's easy to miss him. Like, you could easily look at that scene and kind of look around and like, wait a minute, what is she even looking at? And then she looks back and there's nothing there, so you're confirmed, oh, there's nothing there, right? And that can equally play with your brain in a weird voice. So, yeah, they didn't put it front and center. They didn't zoom in on him or anything. He's just
it's far away. It's in the background. And you see, kind of the white dot of his face. You still can't really tell what's going on. Another thing I appreciate about this movie,
the car is more prominent than he is.
It's kind of like Jaws and the barrels or whatever, you know, that we have different ways of seeing Jaws without seeing him. We don't get a really full good shot of his face until I think it's the beginning of like the third act of the movie.
And even that's I wouldn't call it a good shot.
Yeah. It keeps it very creepy, and you're not sure what's going on. But that brings me. I want to talk about the mask a little bit because there's a lot.
Finally, my connection to Star Trek. Go ahead, friend. Bring up the mask. I'll let you do it.
So originally, it was supposed to be an Emmett Kelly clown mask. If you don't know what that means, basically what's known as the quote unquote hobo clown. You know, with the 5 o'clock shadow and the more of a frown than a smile, but still the clown makeup and droopy eyes. It was going to be that.
Yeah.
But John Carpenter said, well, we said that, but I want something just against it so that we can say we made a choice. So the special effects team goes to the store. They see a Captain Kirk mask, sideburns and all. They take it back, cut the sideburns off, spray paint it white, do a camera test with him on it, and everyone is just like extremely unnerved and too quiet to say anything. And they're like, this is actually 100 times scarier than the clown mask.
Yeah, the clown would have been too much. This is like he's almost human. And it could be an alien. Right. It could be anything under there, but it's almost human enough that he could almost pass in a crowd.
It's almost to the point where why even wear a mask, and this mask is a better representation of what is going on with him without a mask on, if that makes sense. It's like circular, you know? Yeah. Emotionless, there's nothing there, nothing behind the eyes. It's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And there we got Captain Kirk in Halloween, so Star Trek is connected to this episode, and it makes me happy.
Resistance is futile.
So I can die happy. Star Trek has made its way into another episode.
This movie actually inserted the Star Trek reference for you, Kelly. You didn't even have to do anything.
See, I love it. I love it. And I would like to point out that around this time is where we're really introduced to Michael Myers driving around town in a mental institution's vehicle with the advertisement on the side, right? Is it at the hospital? Is that what it is?
It's a government. It says it's a government vehicle. It doesn't say that.
Oh, right. But anyways, he's driving around town with a goddamn mask on.
It's Halloween, baby.
And I know, but still, like, you would think that at some point somebody would kind of point him out and be like, what are you... Well, I mean, I guess Halloween, that kind of excuses
it's Halloween.
It.
Hey, why is that guy wearing a mask? Oh, it's Halloween, baby.
But what is his outfit? This is pre-Halloween. The Halloween universe doesn't exist in the Halloween universe. So
doesn't matter.
He's
a scary guy. That's all you need.
Exactly my point.
Don't forget that the police were warned that a escaped mental patient was coming in a car that matched that description, and they just totally blow it off, and apparently don't even care to look. Yeah. Because it's right there.
The car drives right behind the cop. It drives
right past them when they're
there are scenes where it shows the cop talking and thinking. Yeah. So like these cops, like, I mean, this is just yet another example.
To be fair, wait. To be fair. When the car drives past the police, it's when Annie and Laurie are going to meet her dad. He had not talked to Loomis yet, so they are unaware that they should be looking for that car.
Loomis called somebody. No, Loomis called from the hospital.
He did try to call. Maybe he didn't get that cop, though. Maybe that was part of the reason why he drove here.
That is true. He said sheriff, though.
Yeah, it looked like he was dealing with bureaucratic red tape, and that's why he drove out here to talk to the cops directly. So, okay, I can excuse that, because who knows, it's just a guy driving a random vehicle. There's somebody in a government station wagon wearing a creepy mask and overalls. But hey, it's Halloween, I guess.
hey, there's legitimate things to question later, like how he didn't see the car parked one block up the street when he's been camped out at the house all night.
Yeah, and his daughter pulls up smoking a fucking joint and he doesn't smell it. That doesn't make any... This is the world's, like...
They do point that out. She's like, he totally smelled it.
Oh,
Laurie's like, he totally smelled it.
This was one of the scenes that I hadn't noticed before. So while they're on the way to meet her dad or to by that intersection and she sees her dad, we get an establishing shot of Michael's car, and we see the thing on the signifier on the side of the door to let you know that, yes, that is him following them. But I didn't notice that before that, for their whole trip, while they're talking, he's back there. I always just picked it up right when they show that establishing shot, and then he comes a little further out and follows them, and then like takes a right or whatever. But he's in the background.
When was he in the background?
Yeah, he's in the background the whole way.
Yeah, when they're driving, you see the car come out, and
right, yeah.
It's silent. There's no music sting, but it's there, and it's really creepy and cool. And I had not seen that before this viewing. That's one of the things that presented itself to me upon
which
closer
the nurse
view.
did bring up an interesting point. How did he learn how to drive?
Yeah, well, Dr. Loomis says that I don't know.
Perhaps somebody taught him.
Yeah, maybe someone gave him lessons, and that's all you need. That's all you get.
This person that has never spoken a word in their life, I guess we're supposed to believe, because Loomis says he's never spoken to him, right?
Yeah, since the age of 6, he hasn't spoken.
Since
so
the
how does he
murder.
even let somebody know he wants to learn how to drive? Does he pantomime driving and then do the pleading hands in front of him like I'm
cloning, dark science, secrets only the Sith knew? Who knows?
Maybe he was just watching them. Maybe he's just really intelligent and he was just watching people drive.
Could be that too.
Somehow Michael learned to drive.
Yeah, they drive now.
Yeah, they drive now.
Talking about mental patients.
Oh, that sounds horrible. This is the most ableist podcast we've ever done. Oh, we love our disabled community. We're all going to be disabled at some point in our lives. So, anyways, okay, just trying to balance out that bad karma.
But speaking of, because we kind of passed over it, because now we're with Laurie's friends, Laurie's annoying friends with different levels of not
friends,
great acting.
quote unquote.
Yeah,
totally.
You have totally
horrible people.
And the other, I believe, so that's who is that? That's Linda is the one who says totally, and Annie is the one who talks like this constantly, every line that she says.
These are the most annoying part of the show.
Annie is the worst actor.
And yes. Yeah.
If you want to have a drinking game to go with this movie, the whole drinking game would just be anytime somebody says totally.
And you'll be shit-faced halfway through the movie.
Yes, you will be blitzed. You'll be gone.
You're passed out before the first murder.
Right.
Oh my God. I was like, Jesus. Like, and then what was it? You were saying that John Carpenter brought in his wife
daughter?
Or his niece or somebody, daughter?
Deborah Hill, who is his partner and producer at the time. He I don't want to do the female dialogue. I trust you to do it, and that's what she gave. 8 million.
Was she a robot?
I'm not even doubting the validity of it. Maybe this is how teenagers talked in the 70s. I believe it because teenagers always have these catchphrases to kind of latch onto. So I get it. But oh my God,
like
if
Ohio?
I was an adult in the 70s, I would be so fucking annoyed. I'd be like, find another fucking word, any word, literally any other word.
Totally.
Totally. Say it. Can we get a totally like Arnold?
Totally.
So, speaking of this movie, I find it almost me anyway. This is just me speaking. I'm not trying to put this on you guys, but I don't know. I think the pacing and structure is almost perfect. It's kind of it's probably a great super tight script. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It does what it needs to with a little. There's one part in it that drags a little, and I think that's right when Bob and Linda show up at the house Annie was at when she's no longer there. I mean, we'll get there, but really, really tight script. And by this point, we know where everybody's going to be. They're going to be babysitting across the street from each other. That night. Bob and Linda will be coming over later. And Michael is on the prowl.
There are a couple little funny touches I'd like to mention. One is when Michael is driving down the road and the 3 teenage girls notice him.
Yeah.
And then he's driving away and she goes, "Speed kills, jerk." He's going like 15 miles per hour at this point.
That's why he slams on the brakes. He's like, "What are you talking about?
What the fuck are you talking about? I can't go slower if I tried." I think it's just movie magic or movie sensibility that when they were filming it, they couldn't have him fly past because there wouldn't be enough time to film them actually having this conversation. So he ends up going 15 to 10 miles an hour.
And it's not very stalker-like to fly past.
Yeah.
No, but that's why her line just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
She should have said something like, take a picture, it'll last longer, or something like that, you know?
Totally.
Maybe it's supposed to be
Totally.
sarcastic, because we see him literally, like, leaning over and, like, looking at them. Maybe that's her comment on him slowing down to look at them is sarcastically saying speed kills.
It didn't feel like it?
No, it didn't.
I don't know.
I'm
like,
just supposing. But
Yeah.
still a creepy scene. Like, having the guy that just drove past you leering slam on his brakes down after you shout at him is scary. It's a scary thing.
Absolutely. The other funny thing that I wanted to mention was that when, at some point when Lori is waiting on the sidewalk and she sees Michael down by... Michael Myers, not Michael Tyson, to clarify. When she sees Michael standing next to the bushes, and then she looks back at her friend, and then looks over, and he's gone. And then they pretty quickly go over to the bush and look behind it. Not a lot of time passed, and he's not there anymore. But there's this little path that goes between the bushes and the house.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see where he could have gotten away. But in order for him to get away, he would have had to jog a little bit. He would have had to have a little jump in his step. And I just thought how funny that would be to imagine Michael Myers standing out there with his like hero pose, like dun dun dun,
Then
like staring at them, running hunched over, like they're never gonna find me, you know, like.
Well, part of this thing that we get to see, and it's part of what I like about Michael Myers as a slasher opposed to others, is that he is he likes to scare you. He likes to fuck with you. He's in no way, shape, or form at that point there to try and get anyone yet. He is like, hey, look at me, and now I'm gonna disappear on you. That's his whole MO is I will scare
just
you
him
first.
him hunched over,
But it is funny to
tiptoeing
think
away
about him
quickly.
Yeah. There's another scene akin to this when Laurie gets home alone for the first time and she looks out that sort of iconic scene of the laundry, the sheets hanging in the background, and he's there behind the fluttering sheet looking up at her, and then she doesn't break eye contact, and it looks back and he's gone. But in that shot, you can actually see him, what's left of being able to see him, quickly walking behind the bush that's there.
Oh,
and
I missed that.
Yeah,
I missed it too.
It's it's the
Is he
slightest
hunched over and like tiptoeing away?
No, it's the slightest movement, and you see the like branches shaking as his form moves through it. Of note, especially you, Jamie, since this was your first time seeing it, Michael Myers is credited in the credits as being played by someone, but that's not who they're crediting walking around. That's just when his mask is pulled up. There's a credit at the very end referred to as The Shape. And that is who is in the mask and in the overalls. He's known as The Shape because he's just the
That's
shape of a man.
creepy.
Yeah, he's not a man. He's in the shape of a man,
That is super creepy.
which I love. That's part of the lore, is he's known as The Shape, not technically Michael Myers.
Yeah, and that makes, I love it when you can use the credits even to add a little bit more of a creepiness to it. Like for Fight Club, for example, I'm going to say a minor spoiler for Fight Club. If you haven't seen it, then plug your ears. But like the fact that Edward Norton's character is referred to as the narrator, because part of the question that you have as the movie goes on is, wait a minute, what is his name?
Is it that's a whole nother podcast, but is it Jack? He refers to I am Jack's dull rage, I am Jack's...
Some people consider, that's what, if you're like in the Reddit conversations, for example, they refer to him as either Jack/narrator.
Yeah.
But we all know his real name is something else altogether. The name that everybody knows him by, at least, is something else.
He's Kyler Soze.
It's Tyler Soze.
Tyler Soze.
Oh, I'm going to write that down. That might be a title.
So that night, Halloween night, Loomis has the right idea. His timing is wrong. He goes and posts up outside of Michael's house, and we find out that he's already been there because they allude to seeing, I believe, like a partially eaten dog. He says he got hungry.
Yeah.
Which just further reinforces the inhumanity of what we're dealing with here. Because who could do that? We see more later when he's stalking Annie.
I will say too that the doctor says he got hungry, and then the officer's like, maybe it was a skunk.
Yeah, right.
What?
Do skunks eat dogs?
Yeah, I don't-
No.
Has that happened? Like, I never.
That's why it literally made me stop and go, what?
I mean, I might be a city boy, but I don't remember any stories about dogs getting eaten by skunks.
Maybe it was a fox would have been more believable.
Yeah.
Maybe it was another dog.
Yeah, maybe it was a bigger
skunk.
dog. Like, you could have gone there. A skunk.
Seeing a dead dog on the side of the road, what happened to him? A fish got him. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
So Annie shows up across the street from where Laurie is babysitting Tommy. She's there to babysit Lindsay. And Michael's right behind him, even getting out of his car and just walking along the street along other costume goers, and it just makes the goosebumps come out because, again, Halloween, guy in a mask, no one is going to pay you any mind. So he is free to just sort of roam and watch.
And now it's even scarier that somebody could dress up literally as Michael Myers and wander around the streets, and everybody would think it's just a character.
Let's not give people ideas.
I mean, they do it every Halloween, and there's always that little thought in the back of your mind when you see it. It's like, okay, this guy here, is he gonna actually stab me?
Yep. I will say that there were times where I was bartending at a little tiny bar in nowhere, Michigan, and there were a few times where I had made local enemies, we'll say, some people that I had pissed off just being me. I know, hard to believe, but then somebody would come in the door where it was completely dead on Halloween night, and they'd be in a costume, and part of me would be like, I'm going to keep about 10 feet distance between me and this person, because I don't know if this is somebody that's using the costume as an excuse to, assault the bartender, which never assault the bartender.
Yeah, don't do that.
Let me finish my shift first.
And you're going through all the options of like all the things that you can do. Like, okay, I have that there. And
Yeah, I have the pop gun. I'll just coat him in Coke. That should eat through anything. All right, yeah, I just coat him in Coke and say, now sit there for 24 hours.
melting.
Another good early indicator of we're dealing. This is a predator. This is a threat. Is we see him stalking Annie, and inside the house, the dog keeps barking. Trying to let her know that something is wrong.
Yeah, and then later on, when the dog dies, she's like, "Would you shut up? Somebody come get this dog." Yipe! Never mind. I'm just wow.
Yeah.
I did decide watching this movie that this movie is the reason that my German Shepherd Hella hates men.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, well, yeah. You didn't watch this in front of her, did you?
I did.
Oh no, she's traumatized. This does give us if this guy can grab a dog jumping at him midair and just strangle the life out of it, there's things to be scared of, who is not going to flinch or run from a German Shepherd baring their teeth, just calmly dispatch it. That's terrifying.
At least he didn't try to eat it.
Yeah. Well, and his frame is not small either.
Yeah.
The Shape's frame is pretty good size. He strikes me as over 6 feet, over 240 pounds kind of thing. He's not a small dude.
He's grown quite a bit from the 6-year-old.
Yeah. That's been a couple of years.
So he takes care of Annie, who this again, looking back, is kind of funny. Her death face. He strangles her when she gets in the car to go.
It is the most hilarious death face ever.
Her eyes are crossed. Her nose is dragging across.
Her
the
tongue's
window.
sticking out.
Yeah.
I mean, the tongue sticking out thing is. I've only seen a couple of corpses that actually does happen a lot of times, but maybe not quite like that. It just kind of lingers. Anyways, maybe there's 2 more, but I'm probably gonna cut that.
Yeah, the eyes crossed. The whole while she's dying, the whole face that she made.
A little bird floats above her head in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
So it steals a little of the thunder of that scene, but leading up to it, there's some good stuff. She's thinking about going to get her boyfriend, so her mind is elsewhere. She goes to the car and it's locked, and she's like, I gotta go get the keys. She goes and get the keys. She comes back and the car door is unlocked, and she gets in it without noticing. And we know why shortly after.
And I knew he was going to be in the car. And I still jumped and screamed. Still did.
Good.
I love the fact that the condensation on the window was a clue.
Yeah.
Because Yeah.
Because
he's still human. He's still breathing. There's still the laws of physics.
Boy, is he! He's a heavy breather. Throughout the whole movie, we hear the
Well, that certainly calls for a dirty.
He's out of shape.
That's the alternative title is how the heavy breather.
Yeah, in the same font, like orange font.
Heavy breather : totally.
The funny thing is I made a note that this movie was back in the days where a phone could still creep people out because they actually answered the phone.
Yeah.
Bill Shatner as the heavy breather.
That's a movie that I want to make. That's an alternate timeline.
and somewhere there's Bill Shatner's ex somewhere, and she's going, "Yeah, it's true, it's true."
And it's not a mask; it's just him with white paint on his face.
Him after he's gained a few pounds, and he just adds a little bit of white base and some powder.
Laboring heavily from constantly walking after these teen girls. Yeah.
Walking up the stairs. Well, I mean, he's like 70 now, so I mean, I'm not trying to mock him too much. I mean, when I'm at that age, it'll probably be a little tiring getting up a huge flight of stairs with a knife in your hand.
So this is about the portion from that kill, where the pace kind of drags for maybe 15 or so minutes. It comes back. It comes back fairly quickly to sort of being snappy, but
like we have to have those scenes where Chad is trying to have a threesome with his girlfriend and their friend. Yeah. And it's like, I guess we have to, like, this is one of those scenes where you're actually kind of rooting for the killer. Uh-huh. You're going, you know what? If somebody's got to go, that the totally woman, her boyfriend that's trying to have the threesome after they all get drunk, and the other friend that doesn't know how to act her way out of a paper bag, those three can go. But leave the kids alone. Leave Laurie alone, and leave the fucking dogs alone, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it does the sin of harming the animal. But
what is it about dogs in these movies, like Terminator? There's so many movies, it seems like the dogs are like the canary in the
well, it's because we love, it's a horror movie, and it's supposed to be horror, and I'd say as a populace who overwhelmingly loves dogs, that is something horrific. It's a little cheap, I feel, here. It's maybe a little less cheap than elsewhere just because it serves several purposes to show you sort of what you're dealing with. Like, anybody who would do this is a monster. You know, that sort of thing.
Plus, also, dogs are usually an alarm system.
Right.
Of sorts.
Yeah.
So you got to get rid of the alarm.
For generations and thousands of years, there's been that pairing that the dogs were the alarm system for us, and we helped them scavenge for food, kind of thing. And yeah, so I get it. It's just so interesting to me that parallel exists, and there's probably some real heavy anthropological reasons why.
It's also, I mean, it's traumatizing that it happens so much in movies to the point where when we were watching. What was the movie about the AI?
The Creator.
Yeah, The Creator, where there several times I'm like, oh God, please let the dog be safe, you know? Like,
yeah.
I just expected it to happen, and it doesn't, so, you know, it's a
Sarah McLachlan didn't do a music video about starving people.
Yeah.
She did it about starving dogs.
Right.
And there are many memes out there about, I don't care who dies in the movie as long as the dog lives.
Yeah, you know... Let's just say that when Chad and his girlfriend died, those were the scenes where it was allowing me to actually kind of root for the killer a little bit and see it a little bit from his perspective, even though I'm not saying we should kill the annoying people.
His name is Bob. Maybe you're just referring to Chad as in his style.
Yeah. I know that's not his. I knew it was like Bob or Billy or something. He's Chad. He's the quintessential like brainless frat boy Chad that's just trying to get wasted and laid, brah.
How funny is this? Okay, their couple's name, they are Bob and Linda, and in the 70s, teenagers, sure, but it sounds weird because at the age we are, Bob and Linda is your neighbor down the street who he's balding and she's, you know, walking down the street with a fanny pack on every morning. You know, Bob and Linda.
Yeah, these two people if they grew up.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like such a middle-aged couple's name, but it's Bob and Linda.
Wait till like 30 years from now, and the old people are the ones with names like Kaylee and Mackenzie and Alexis and stuff like that, and we're like, wow, those sounds like kids'
names. With the 50,000 extra letters.
Yeah, Jaden is the old... You see a bunch of 70-year-old men named Jaden at the The shuffleboard tournament.
And bingo.
I'm sorry, it'll be Fortnite.
Yeah.
It'll be a Fortnite tournament. It'll be just as archaic. People like, you guys, you're using controllers? That's so cute.
Yeah, we're going down to the Knights of Columbus building to play Fortnite.
Who you bringing? Jaden. Which Jaden? Jaden R or Jaden W? Jaden with an I. Oh, not Jaden with a Y? No.
And Michaela spelled with 27 extra letters.
A bunch of E's, I's, G's, and H's.
Y's, yeah.
Good old McKaylee Lee.
Oh, our viewership went from a dozen down to about half a dozen. We pissed off everybody that's younger than us, everybody that's older than us, the religious people. Who else can we get?
Before Bob,
People who use the word totally.
before Bob and Linda do arrive, we get what I love it. A great scene of Tommy is trying to scare Lindsay by whispering, "Ooh, I'm gonna get you," and hiding, but he just happens to look out the window and sees fucking Michael Myers carrying a dead body into this house. And is instantly, rightfully, freaked the fuck out and starts screaming, "It's the boogeyman! It's the boogeyman!" And of course, Laurie looks, sees nothing, is like, "Come on, you little idiot kid, there's no such thing as the boogeyman." But
yeah,
she will come to find out.
But his fear looked palpable. Like the kid actor did a really good job there. I think the kid actors actually did better than the teenagers in a lot of ways. I mean, maybe they're more on par with the teenagers, and we would expect more from the older actors.
Sure.
But
right.
Either way, I was not offended by the kids acting at all. I think they did a really good job.
And or, as we found out many times happens in these movies, the kids have no idea that they're filming a horror movie, so they are literally scared out of their minds by things.
Yeah. Oh, it was really well done. He got my heart rate jumping a little bit. Not seeing Michael Myers, seeing his reaction.
Right. Where he's
he's
still for a second, and then he just silently backs away from the window. It's like effective in telling like he's been.
And then he starts screaming to the top of his lungs and pointing like a kid would, like everybody in horror movies should, but they don't often.
Of note, what they are watching on the TV is The Thing, which will
I did catch that.
Which will come to be John Carpenter will remake that a few years later, and you can tell that it's a passion project of his, and it's just a little example of a director paying homage to something that they love, and he didn't even know at the time that he would get the chance to direct The Thing. After he made a couple of more movies that were successful, he got allowed to be in a place where he could pick the next thing that he wanted to do, and he said, "You know what? My favorite horror movie from childhood is The Thing, so I'm going to do that." And I appreciate that. You can tell when somebody loves something and loves what they're doing, and that's just a little piece of that in this movie.
And you'd be surprised to find out that when somebody really cares about the media and they really appreciate it, and then they get the chance to make it, and they're trained in making that art well, go figure. The movie ends up pretty good.
Yeah.
It ends up other people enjoy it because you have somebody that's trained at doing something, and they have something that they wanted to do their whole lives because they really respect the original. And hey, guess what happens? I think it's kind of funny that when at one point they're in the kitchen doing something, I forget what they were doing, but she's trying to distract the kids, Laurie is, and she's like, "Hey, why don't we go watch the rest of that movie?" And I was thinking, like, we didn't have VCRs back then in 78. Nobody had VCRs. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so basically you're saying let's go join this horror movie halfway through.
Yeah.
Like they have no idea what's going on. They weren't watching the beginning of it.
Right.
So like going and watching the rest of the movie, like people don't realize like how good we have it in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying media companies are bullshit, and the way that the Telecommunications Act allowed them to conglomerate is not good for the consumer in a lot of ways. But the fact that we have all this stuff like a la carte on demand anytime we want it, like, God damn, like even this podcast, you could be listening to this podcast and somebody calls you on the phone and you can just pause it and you can come back and rewind the last 10 seconds of what we were talking about if you forgot. Media is so convenient to consume now, and it makes me remember these days where shit was just playing in the background.
Yep,
like you had to go pee during the commercial break or you were missing shit.
Oh, I literally remember as a kid with my sister, Saturday morning cartoons, commercial break, okay, run real quick to pee, counting in my head to 2 minutes and 30 seconds to make sure that I got back in time for the show to start.
Yep. And it's not like you could rewatch that episode. There were some times like when G.I. Joe was big and they had like an actual like serialized storyline when Cobra Commander was dying and stuff like that. There were times where I would like literally set alarms to make sure that I could watch it, because if you missed an episode, who knows if you will ever see it again. For our mindset as a kid, this is the only time that we'll ever get to see this. And even as an adult, I'm thinking, even if I had an adult helping me, how would they figure out when I could watch that again? Anyways, we have it really, really nice nowadays. I didn't mean to go too off tangent, but hey, that's what I do.
I really thought you were going to delve into the fact that you have kids that are terrified by seeing the boogeyman outside, so you're going to sit them down in front of a scary movie.
Well, there is that. Yeah, I didn't quite think about that perspective, but that's an interesting turn of phrase on that. Like,
yeah, quit acting so scared. Sit down and watch this horror movie.
Yeah, don't be afraid of the boogeyman. Let's watch The Thing.
Yeah. So Bob and Linda are kind of dragging the pace down a little bit, but they're about to pick it back up because after they finish doing their business, Linda tells Bob to go get her a beer. He goes downstairs.
And see, you think it screwed up the pace. I felt that really added to the tension because you kept expecting something to happen and it wasn't. And so it just added the tension, ratcheted it up another notch for me.
That's good
and we have another 30 second chump. Like, all that bullshit that they were getting through, like, where are we going to have sex? We're going to have sex. We're totally going to have sex tonight. Oh my God, the sex is going to be so sexy.
Daddy, chill.
And then he gets to it and there's like literally like 4 pumps and he's like, oh. And she's like, that was amazing. Totally.
At the weirdest angle, too.
Yeah. Like, I get it. It's a horror movie, so it's just a representation of it. But like, if this was literally their sex life, it's like, oh honey, things get so much better. Maybe Michael Myers is going out and killing people for being shitty lovers.
He's doing a service. Yeah,
he's doing a service to the sexual community in Haddonfield, Illinois.
Well, that's good to know. From maybe it's because on multiple views I know what's coming and I know when it's going to hit, right. So it feels like a drag if you know when something's coming. But I'm glad that kept the tension up. That pleases me.
Well, I look forward to the stabbing scene in the kitchen so much because that's like the first real like. My first viewing, it was the first time I was like, oh, this is really fucking creepy to me. The way he stares at him.
It's where the creep factor comes into full bloom and you're like, okay, this guy is clearly, if this is a human being, then there's something very wrong there because, as we all know, he stabs Bob, pins him to the door with his giant butcher knife, and just, like, looks at him, cocking his head from side to side. Is he admiring his work? Is he watching the life leave his eyes? We don't know. It doesn't really matter.
I took it as the latter, but yeah, you're right. The ambiguity of like, we don't know. Is he smiling under there? Is he straight-faced? Does he look angry? What is he feeling right now? Is he feeling anything?
I have the theory that his kills are kind of his quote-unquote art. He's like experimental. He likes to fuck with people and set up tableaus, as we come to see. It feels like, again, not to glorify horrible murder, but it's like a budding artist taking his first steps into composing, It's because he's like, okay, this guy's pinned to the wall. What do I like about that? What do I dislike about that?
What do I need to change next time?
What can I do better next time? Yeah. How do I improve on the themes? What are the real motifs here?
It's just, and it's so unnerving and good, and it chills your blood.
It's also the first time we see him kill a man,
and we can't deny the physics that doesn't work. No. Like the human body would just slump off. The knife would break. The wall would break. Something that would not work. The person that I was watching it with hadn't seen Halloween in many, many years. And she was like, okay, the creepy stare is one thing, but my brain can't help but chuckle at like, what the fuck is going on here? Why is he just hanging he looks like he's hanging on a hook and there's no hook there. Like this doesn't make any sense physically.
Right. Rule of cool. We got to let that one go to the rule of cool. It's and also the knife isn't even deep enough in him to be pinning him to the wall. If you see it, it's like half sticking out, but
And that's
whatever.
why, as somebody that, like, I knew what was coming and I was looking forward to the stare because that's so creepy. And I don't go back and rewatch these movies. So, like, I wanted to see it again because I hadn't seen it since, like, the last time, a year ago or whatever. And so I don't look at the knife. I don't think about the knife because I'm thinking about Michael Myers. But as a new viewer coming in or somebody that hasn't seen it many, many, many years, they look at that and go, oh, it's almost silly to look at. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of... you almost like you hate to see that opportunity miss. Like I would hate for somebody to not look at Michael Myers' look because they're too busy looking at the stupid knife in the wall.
Sure. But it does what it's telling you there is again, is he supernaturally strong? Because it's still within the realm of possibility that a man could lift another man up single-handedly by the throat, and if you had the right sort of implement, you could pin them to the wall with another single stab, but he achieves it. And so it's like, is he supernaturally strong? Is he just full functioning body because of
18
his
strength
mental states?
human?
Yeah, exactly. And it lets you know, again, what you're dealing with and adds that extra layer of creep. And then immediately after that, it's creep on creep because now in his... hey, it's Halloween, let's have a little fun. He takes the time to cut the holes out of a sheet, put it over his head, and put on Bob's glasses.
Oh, I didn't even think about the craft time in the
Yeah.
He had to sit down and get scissors out of the drawer and then open up the sheet.
sheet.
Oh, yeah.
He had to go find a sheet, go through some closets. Imagine Michael Myers plotting his way step, and like we're hearing the dun 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 as he's grabbing the sheet.
I do, and that's
So
what makes that's what makes it creepy to me, is that taking the time to do that, and then he's just standing in the doorway. He even puts on Bob's glasses. It's truly terrifying.
The glasses are what really make it seem like he's being playful. Like, look, I'm your boyfriend. Ha ha.
And so she's calling out to him, and he's not responding, and she's like, whatever, I'm going to call Lori. And this is what gets Laurie involved. So she makes the phone call, but before she can say anything, Michael sort of saunters up and wraps the cord around her throat, strangling her, which Laurie has the unfortune of hearing. And she's like, you know what? Maybe I should go check on what's going on over there.
Yeah, which is a little weird. Like, do your friends normally call you during sex while they're choking each other out and make you listen to their orgasms over the phone? Is this something that's happening in your friend group? And is your response to that, I'm going to go, quote, check it out. I'm just going to go see what they're doing. Like,
well,
sure you are, Lori. You're just going to go find out what you, if you're convinced they're having sex, why are you going to go check on them?
I think it does. I think it's convincing in the fact that it starts off sounding like sex, but at the end it clearly sounds like someone being strangled to death. I would be concerned about that too.
Right.
I have to pee, so continue, but I will be right back.
No, we will wait. Hurry up. Unprofessional. He should have peed and never peed again before the podcast happened.
How dare he dehydrated?
Yeah, what the fuck?
We have to suffer for our you must dehydrate yourself prior.
Yeah, just like Hugh Jackman
to
when he's
record.
filming shut-off scenes.
And in all of the super ripped guys, because that's what they're all doing.
Yep. I heard it's miserable. I heard it gives you like headaches for days after.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I will never know because I will never be super ripped, so there's no point in me trying.
I've been
what did I miss?
I've been dehydrated before, but I never looked any better for it.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
That's a result of morning coffee and then continuing coffee and more coffee. So
we said you need to dehydrate yourself for your art.
No, I need more coffee. You're telling me to have less coffee? Without the coffee, how do I put the words in the sentences and make them work?
So now it's time for Laurie to step into what basically Michael Myers' House of Spooky Horrors. She steps over there, all the lights are out, she hears some moving and some thumping, and walks upstairs and is confronted with the horrible display that Michael has arranged of Annie's body on the bed with his sister's gravestone. Here lies Judith Myers, recreating his childhood kill. Some suspect that that's just what he's doing over and over and over, is reliving.
One thing I'd like to point out is that right before we get here, so Laurie is on the phone with them, and Michael is strangling her friend Linda, and then the phone gets disconnected. But then Laurie calls back, and it doesn't get a busy signal. It rings.
He put it back.
So that means Michael, he put it back. He hung the phone back up. After he killed the woman, he fixed the phone, put it back on its hook, and set it back where it was.
Yeah.
He's playful and polite. Yeah. I don't see why we have a problem with this guy. He's killing the annoying teenagers, and then he cleans up his mess kind of afterwards, and he makes it playful for everyone.
Yeah, he does. He literally picks up his mess after he's done, and like he kind of cleans like I do. He like shoves everything in the closet, but it's
And did I read that?
Yeah, right.
Did I read it right that their address is 1337?
Leet?
Yeah, I think so. Because when she's running up to the house, I thought I saw the address being 1337, and I'm like, what an interesting little snippet of Leet speak. For those that don't know, it was a phenomenon late 90s, early 2000s where people would include numbers into their words to make them look, quote, elite. And if you look at LEET, another way to write that with letters into numbers would be 1337. And that's what we're talking about.
8008135 is a classic.
It's boobies.
Boobies, hooray for boobies. Shoot, I lost my train of thought. Let me.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
She was running through the house.
You say boobies, and my brain goes in a different direction. Oh.
She was running through the house, and she kept calling for Annie, and all I could think is, Annie, are you okay?
Oh, yeah.
Are you okay?
Yep.
Are you okay, Annie?
The headstone. Wait, we kind of.
Yeah, the headstone, Judith Myers.
We skipped over the beginning when Loomis first comes to town. He goes to the gravekeeper, and they're going through, and they come to Judith Myers' grave. And I guess you're supposed to be smart enough to assume that it's the headstone, but we think they're looking at graves. It's always funny to me that they're like, well, this is Judith Myers' graves, but it's just this little bitty hole. It's like, it almost looks like a teeny tiny little coffin was exhumed or dug up. Like they built the miniature for the set, and they weren't supposed to be standing so close to it.
Yeah,
it's very funny.
It was because they did not make it clear that it was the headstone.
Right. Thankfully, we see it later, so we can retrofit that to our brains. But it just like,
I was like, did I miss something or
the world's tiniest little grave? Yeah. So
then she runs away.
Well, she backs up.
No, she sees her other people.
Yeah, she backs up in horror and knocks into and we get this is a classic staple of the slasher movie where the bodies have all been hung in sort of interesting ways and arranged to be found. Right?
She had to be scared in a very specific way to discover them in such a manner.
Sure.
Like he is a little bit psychic. He knows. Okay, so she's gonna get scared and she's gonna back up against this wall and bump into this panel that's going to open this way, and then it's going to make her roll forward and to the left. And he's Michael Myers is quite the choreographer.
It leads to my absolute favorite sequence of the whole movie. She backs out into the hall in horror, and from the unlit room behind her, we see the face just materialize out of the darkness. It's so fucking good. The way it just appears out of the darkness, and he stabs her. She falls down the stairs.
Whoa! He stabs what?
Her, and she falls down the stairs.
He scratches the side of her arm.
Okay, sure.
With the knife, you mean? He misses horribly. He's rolled a critical 1. He's rolled a critical failure on this because fair. He's a slasher. He's killed multiple people. He's got an open shot on her open back. She has no idea he's there, and somehow he glances off of her shoulder.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. But it doesn't diminish the awesome shot of him coming out of the darkness.
Yeah, Well, this is reminiscent of Psycho, where like the mom coming out of the closet or mom coming out of the upstairs room was scary as fuck, and then right afterwards they did something really silly, and it's like, oh man, in today's cinema, and you can give this a little bit of leeway because in today's cinema she would have gotten much more injured. It would have like dug into her shoulder blade or something like that. So I get the shorthand. It didn't take too much away, but part of me was like, how do you miss?
Yeah.
How do you miss that? Even a child, you as a child could attack somebody from the front and you hit them. How could you miss them from the back?
But it recovers pretty quick, which is with what's probably my favorite shot in the movie, I think. And it boils down the essence of what the movie is. She's at the bottom of the stairs and she looks up and we just see him step in to the top of the stairs, a complete silhouette. You can see that he's got a knife, and it's just there's a mentally deranged man in your house, and he's got a knife, and he is coming after you. And it's not supernatural. You can suppose and be like, oh, it's ambiguous, but the meat and potatoes is fight for life, fight for survival, man with a knife in the house. It's so simple. It doesn't need more than that to be terrifying, and it is. Absolutely.
And Laurie is faced with her number one nemesis, the one thing that in all of her years she's never quite figured out, a deadbolt.
Well, no, that's not fair. It is blocked with a rake on the outside of the door that she's trying to get at.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought she was just fumbling with the goddamn deadbolt over and over again, and
I did notice the rake later, but I did put the note that the people in this house need to fix their locks, because it's like the third time somebody's really struggled with locks at this house. But then I saw the rake.
He is.
Yeah, I didn't catch the rake, so okay, cool. That makes that a little bit more. But don't doors open in?
Not always.
Yeah. Every door. I can't think of a house I've ever been to that the door opened out.
Look, not that door, okay?
Hey, kid, it ain't that kind of movie.
In a lot of storm areas, they build it out so that if a storm comes through, it won't blow into the house. It's more secure.
This is all still I consider part of my favorite sequence, because
sorry, we're like shitting all over your favorite sequence.
No,
that's your favorite movie? Yeah, well, it fucking sucks.
those flaws are there and apparent, and I note them too, but the sequence is so good that it doesn't even detract from me. Like, I'm aware of them, and it's still what's good is so good that it's like it doesn't matter. We're treated to, again, a display of pretty good strength as he sort of busts in the door just barehanded, and it doesn't seem to faze him too much to get to her. But it culminates in she runs outside, and she's knocking on people's doors asking for help, and they think it's a Halloween prank, turn the porch light off on her, and she's screaming, running across the street, and he's just walking behind her, and it's that dun dun dun. Dun.
It's the Kitty Genovese effect, that whole bystander effect thing going on, that totally believable, and that would be true in any environment. How many times, even where I'm at, I told the story a few weeks ago about how I had a fight outside my house. If I hear somebody running down the road screaming, call the cops, am I going to call the cops? I don't know. It's not a foregone conclusion that I'm going to involve the police in my daily life now just because somebody heard screaming it on the street. Because who knows? They might be fucking around. I'm sure somebody else has probably called the cops. There are plenty of nosy neighbors in the area, and so
yeah. And
I can see it happening.
Who knows if you call the police if they don't come show up and shoot you? There's lots of deterrents to calling.
I'm a cis white guy, and I'm saying that. So I can only imagine if some of those factors were different.
I appreciated that the movie addressed the fact that, because you're always like, come on, you don't go to somebody else, you don't try to find help, you're just going to keep fighting the person on your own in these slasher movies. And she does try, and they're like, yeah, whatever.
yeah.
Go die quietly.
And so he's like right behind her before. I love how she wakes up Tommy by throwing the plant at the window, and he's just like he's like rubbing his eyes, like, yeah, okay, I'll be there in a second.
He was just screaming about the boogeyman, like she's finally admitting the thing that you were seeing all along is true. Come on, dude. Like, I get that he's sleepy, but there should be a little bit of pep in his step at that point.
But he is so close to being right behind her as that door opens. It's just the tension of that scene. I love it.
But then we see the open window showing that he already knows how to get into this house. He's already been in this house. Chances
He's already set it up so he can get in if he hasn't been in.
And that's when the music drops away and we just hear the William Shatner heavy breathing happening. And so we know he's in the house. We hear the breathing. Yes. Yeah.
And is this where she attacks him with the knitting needle? Yeah, my friend that was watching the movie with me would like to point out that she didn't realize this at the time, but knitting needles are allowed on flights by the TSA.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, did you know? Like, you're not allowed to take a bottle of water, but you can take a goddamn knitting needle that's just a metal fucking spike with a sharp end. Like, Jesus Christ. So she was even like, I don't think I'm allowed to take these. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's fine. That's just for knitting. And she's like, yeah, I mean, it is. I'm not doing anything with them, but wow,
Have you heard about, I don't know if it's an urban legend or true, but there's the story of the woman who froze her bottle of water and tried to argue with the TSA that
it's solid now?
Yeah, because it's not a liquid.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hey, are we talking about the status of matter? If you're calling it a liquid versus solid, that's the entire point in your argument. You know what? I'm with her. I think we should start a hashtag and start a changeme.org or whatever.
Yeah. So she stabs him in the neck and she completes she does this several times where she throws away the weapon after using it. It's one of the more harder to let go sins of the movie. I get why they do it because she has to feel helpless or whatever, but it's like I think it's like 2 or 3 times that she does it.
Plot contrivance.
The first time,
is what
okay.
It feels like.
The second time, wait a minute. The third time, come on now.
Yeah.
Like I'd be dying 50 years later still holding that knife.
I love that while this is happening, we also cut to Professor Loomis or Detective Loomis or whatever the fuck he is. Loomis, the guy that has failed his perception checks. Like the entire movie, he has been sitting in the bushes scaring children.
Yeah, I love that for
and
him.
Eventually, after like 6 hours of sitting in the bush, eventually he's like, fuck this. And he just starts wandering down random roads looking for something with a gun in his pocket. Like, this man he's just given up. He's like, I have failed anybody that's played D&D, I have failed every perception check. The DM is not going to give me any clues. Fine. I just fucking start wandering down a road looking for somebody to fucking shoot.
I will, just in his slight defense, because I'm the one who brought this up even, so I know it's kind of funny. When they show the shot looks close, but he's clearly running about 2 blocks away to get to the car, so whatever, suspension of disbelief. But it is very funny the way he just happens to turn his head and look down the road, and then we see a close-up shot of the car with the emblem on it. It's like, you didn't see that all night, buddy.
The dungeon master felt bad because you had missed the entire adventure because you have failed every perception check. And the DM's like, you know what? Yeah, you see the car right in front of you. Thank God. All right, I run at the car, get my gun ready.
Yeah, right. I love his little smile after he scares the kids away from the house. Like,
he got into that a little too much, didn't he? I was like, what is going on there,
we all
buddy?
like scaring kids.
Hey, it's Halloween. Everybody's entitled to one good scare, right? That's what they say.
That's what they say
and
in the movie.
In his brain, he was also saving the children.
So he's the hero of this movie, right? He and Laurie are the hero. So the hero, we're supposed to take some lessons from the hero. One of them is, it's totally cool to stay in the bushes and scare the shit out of children on Halloween.
Fuck cool. Yeah, it is.
Hell yeah. I'm on board.
Yeah, me too.
I'm on board.
And knitting needles are allowed on the flights, so you combine these two. I'm just kidding.
Dr. Loomis can do no wrong.
And make fun of sixth graders.
I wish I had a psychiatrist that ran around waving a gun in the air. That would be amazing. I love
trying to make sure you go to jail.
Yeah, I love Dr. Loomis. But again, in my favorite movie that has a bunch of my favorite scenes, another of my favorites is, she stabbed him in the neck. She goes upstairs and she's telling the kids, I want you to run across the street to blah, 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 or whatever. And they're like, is he dead? And she's like, yes. And he's like, are you sure? You can't kill the boogeyman. And while he's saying this, we see the shadow of him
creeping. That is so good.
Creeping up the stairs, and the camera shoots up, and we see him. He's standing there with his knife, and it's just screams. And this is when Dr. Loomis hears the screaming, I believe. No.
He's got a weird connection with children, we'll just say. He's...
It's not just yet, it's the next time. So she locks them in the bathroom, right. And she goes and
of course, he's in the hallway right outside the door, and she screams at the children, hide in the bathroom, and closes the door to there.
Lock the door!
And then she's like, I imagine him just standing outside the room, just listening to everything they're fucking doing. And then she opens the closet door and gets inside, closes the closet door, starts fucking with all the shit in the closet, and he's sitting out there going, what am I to you? I took that personally.
Yeah, well, first she does kind of smartly in her, I imagine she's all over the place with fear, but she has the foresight to open the balcony doors and leave them open before she goes into the closet.
But then to go in the closet and rattle the door and shit, like he's right there. He's literally like 5 feet away from you or something. Like he's the size of a small bedroom away from you.
Right. And we get the great scene of the light is off in there, but when he smashes through, the string gets like tangled up in his hands, and the light's going off and on, and he's smashing through, and it's just it's like pure terror. She again having the wits enough about her to straighten a coat hanger into a weapon and jam it in his eye.
That was the visual equivalent of a kid that's trying to turn in a book report for a book he never read.
I don't understand. What do you mean by that?
Like, she was just like, I need a weapon, and just grabs the most random thing around her and tries to fashion it into a weapon. And anybody looking on from the audience is going, that ain't gonna fucking work. Like, you already stabbed him before, and that didn't fucking work. What do you think this is gonna matter?
To be fair, in self-defense, that is one of the things they used to say when wire coat hangers were more prominent, is if you can get one, double it over into a stabbing implement so that you can have something to thrust, to stab with. So it kind of works out for her, because he drops the knife and she is smart enough to pick it up and jam it into his stomach.
And then drop it again immediately right next to his body.
Yep, right next to him.
What is up? I'm staring at the sky like, what is wrong with this woman just throwing the weapon down? Every time she gets an advantage, she's like, oh, that wouldn't be fair. It's only we should fight fisticuffs, mano a mano.
I'll put it in his hand. I'm going to stab it with it, and then I'm just.
All right, I stabbed you once. You get to stab me once.
Yeah, let me bend over and place it back in your hand. I would say maybe that it's there's blood or whatever on it, and that's ew, gross blood. I'm creeped out by it. I want to get it out of my hands.
That's why I said the first one I could see, like you're trying to divorce yourself from the act. You're horrified.
Yeah.
You just think you killed somebody, you throw it away. And then he comes back to life.
Yeah,
you stab him and you stab him and you stab him and you stab him and you stab him.
Yeah.
You hang on to the knife that second time, for sure.
Yeah, especially you stab him like 5 or 6 times in very, very necessary areas. Then you keep the knife in your hand and you get the kids and you run the fuck away with your knife in one hand and the kids in the other.
Yeah.
It seems like common sense, right? Like this is not a controversial statement.
No. She sends the kids off. They run out of the house screaming. Now Loomis knows what's going on and is running towards the house. We get the great shot of her kind of slumping down as Michael sits up quietly in the background. Mm-hmm. Almost robotic, right?
She turned her back to him.
Yeah.
Which is also weird.
His arms just stay stiff at his side. He just kind of sits up. It's very unnatural looking.
Yes.
Like almost rising from the grave, I think, is the shorthand that's happening.
Mm-hmm. He does the Undertaker.
And she thinks it's over, and she's like in shock and wandering away. And he comes rushing out of there and wraps his hands around her throat, and their struggle ensues. And we're
actually seeing some passion out of him for a change.
Right. He's like, "Will you fucking die already?" It's kind of his body language. He's like shaking her around a little bit, and
he says, "Why won't you die already?" And she's like, "I'm thinking the same thing, asshole."
Right. She gets his mask off a little bit, and there's that titillizing ooh big reveal, what's under there, and it's just some young guy, just some 20-year-old guy.
Yeah, that was such a weird choice. Like I'm here for it. That's cool.
Yeah.
But wow, what you totally made him human for a minute. Or gave evil a human face, or however you want to look at it. I thought that was an interesting choice.
But just for a second, and then the mask goes right back in place.
It's his face is almost like angelic, It's so like it's a good looking face.
He's a handsome dude. Yeah, he's a good looking guy. And to speak to your point, Jamie, like absolutely, you can see that Michael Myers is so concerned about his human face being seen that he will put himself in danger to get that mask back on. That we've now discovered his weakness. If you take his mask off, he will stop whatever he is doing to get that mask back on his face. Now, he'll probably kill you afterwards, but he will stop. He literally stopped killing her, even though she was going to kill him so that he could get the mask. He would rather be dead with the mask on than alive with the mask off.
You can almost hear in his head going, my face, like in reference to the mask, pulling.
And the actor that played his face did a good job doing that. Like he looked very scared. He looked, for the first moment we see his face, and he maybe not scared, but like
driven.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
And Does that speak to like the psychology of it being a different person?
Yeah, why did
the mask is what makes him, and then when the mask is off, then he can't be that character anymore.
He needs that barrier.
Yeah,
like even as a child, he could have killed his sister, but he made sure he grabbed the mask and put it on.
Yeah,
because
it's
that
not
made
me.
the difference.
Yeah,
yeah.
Right.
Maybe that's why he's like, I can't go without the mask. I can't confront that I am killing you. It's the mask that's killing you.
Right.
It's the voice in my head or whatever.
Yeah.
Who knows what kind of psychopathy
this other the shape. It's the shape. I need the shape to kill.
Yes.
Yeah.
The shape does the killing, not Michael.
Yeah.
And that's when Loomis shows up. As soon as he gets the mask on, he fires his first shot, and then he runs into the room, and there's another.
He fires 6 bullets.
Yeah.
He fires. I was so happy about that. He fired 6 bullets from a standard revolver.
And then the gun clicks.
And then the gun clicked because he was out of ammo after firing 6 rounds out of a 6-shooter. Yay! How simple.
So yeah, he rushes into the room, and there's that final great shot of Michael in full silhouette, just breathing heavy, and he shoots the other 5 shots, and he falls over the ledge, and he goes to comfort Laurie, and she says, it was the boogeyman, and the psychiatrist, who is, supposed to be rational and calming, just says, you know what? As a matter of fact, it was. He was already on board that Michael is the boogeyman. And we get the great reveal at the end. He goes to look over the balcony. You see his eyes widen and tighten a little, and Michael's just no longer there. And we get the scenes of the movie with Michael's breathing superimposed over them, telling us that he's still there. He's lurking. He's somewhere out there. We don't know where he is. And credits roll.
And the credits right to the theme music, right to the title card again. Like, I thought that was a powerful ending. I thought there were some parts in the middle of the movie that really dragged, but an old music teacher of mine used to say that an amazing performance will be solid beginning, middle, and end. But if you can't do that, at least have a good beginning and a good ending. That way people start your piece off thinking you're good, and they end the piece thinking you're good. They won't remember the middle as long as you end strong. And that's what this movie made me think of. Like, if you only judge the middle 40 minutes of this movie, you could easily look at this as kind of
whatever.
But a strong beginning and a very strong ending make me like pump my fist afterwards, or turn on all the lights in my house or whatever. So,
and that's pretty much Halloween, my favorite horror movie.
So one thing that I've been thinking about for a little while, and I want to throw this at y'all, and we'll see if this sticks on a weekly basis. I would like to see it stick on a weekly basis. I would like to know who your MVP of this movie was. Now, your MVP doesn't necessarily have to mean the person that was the most heroic or the person that saved the day. It could be something that you thought was hilarious, or an actor that went above and beyond, or an actor that was horrible in an otherwise amazing movie. However you want to define your MVP. I'll start to show what I'm talking about. For me, This movie, my MVP was Dr. Loomis, because he starts the movie quoting like he's in a fucking Edgar Allan Poe novel, and then he ends up spending...
He's got the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
The wings of a demon fly from his soul as he takes his next victim and devours them whole.
Right.
And, I'm like, okay, bro, and then he spends the middle hour and 20 minutes hiding out in a goddamn bush, scaring children and not doing anything. Like, I imagine at some point he had to go pee, he had to go get a burger at McDonald's or something, but then he goes right back to that bush. How did he not get the cops called on him? And then it ends with him showing up and just wandering down a street until he heard kids screaming, and he runs in the house and he shoots the guy dead. And to me, he is the MVP because of hiding out in the bush and scaring children all day.
I mean, you can mine be the same thing?
Absolutely. So would yours be the same then, Keith?
Yeah, exactly. But more specifically, him having a little fun and scaring children. That Dr. Loomis is my MVP, specifically because of that little smile that he allows himself in all of this grave seriousness. Because I just scared the shit out of those kids. It's fucking awesome.
I got him.
Yeah, I love it.
What about you, Jamie? What's your MVP of this movie?
I have to go with good old Annie's death face. Because the eyes crossed with her tongue sticking out, like rigidly sticking out, not just kind of lolling out of her mouth, but like she's actually sticking her tongue out.
And it's punctuated. It's punctuated by the car horn, and it's it's like slapstick almost. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, Annie's death face. Definitely not her acting ability leading up to her death face. No. Who knows? She might be a good actor now. Who knows? But
unless anyone has other ideas, I think the popcorn bucket is super easy for this one. It's just the jack-o'-lantern from the opening credits.
Yeah.
Or you could do the mask.
And that appears all over in the movie. Like there's a jack-o'-lantern in the bedroom in one scene.
Well, it's how he put it there. Yeah, Michael put it there.
It's the one that Laurie and the kids made earlier.
Yeah.
And he took it and he put it in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The jack-o'-lantern isn't necessarily connected to it in any way other than it's Halloween. And didn't he have a jack-o'-lantern like bucket at the beginning or something too?
No, I don't think so.
Was there no jack-o'-lantern in the beginning? I was trying to find if
there was a jack-o'-lantern.
There was on the porch, but
yeah.
That's tangentially connected, but hey, whatever, it still works. The beginning with just watching a jack-o'-lantern, be on fire with the candle inside of it as the haunting synthetic electronica is playing, like it's such a cool juxtaposition of those two cool blending.
And maybe we'll I forgot to do that when we watched it because I wanted to show y'all. Maybe we'll do after we record the 2018 Halloween sequel boot thing. It has a brilliant opening title sequence in my opinion because it's a rotten jack-o'-lantern filmed in reverse, like coming back to life. That's to look the same. That. Yeah, it's very cool. You said the mask you could do is the popcorn bucket. Where is it upside down? And popcorn?
You're just reaching into Bill Shatner's head to get your popcorn.
I say you go with the car.
Go
with the car with the state logo on the side.
There you go.
You can do that too. Yeah.
You just have it like solid, like olive, and just put property of so and so, whatever it says on the side of the car. That somehow I just missed because I never fucking read it.
And you reach in through the roof.
And when somebody says, "Can I get a large popcorn?" the clerk has to say, "Totally."
I would be happy to have the official Halloween opening credits popcorn bucket if it was the jack-o'-lantern. That'd be something that I sit on my shelf. That would be cool, I think.
Yeah. So the real question that we're all faced with now is, what did you think of the movie? And would you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Let's start with you, Jamie.
You really want to do this? Here. Now, yes. Okay. Let's do it.
Well, I think before I say whether it's a thumbs up or thumbs down, I'm going to say that after we got done watching the movie, I live in a second-story apartment, and I went around closing all my curtains because I was afraid that if I looked out the window, I was going to see a face.
Just somebody staring at you from outside? Oh.
Right. Yes, which is terrifying when you live on a second floor, especially. But then I looked at one window that I was like, I could leave that one open. And then I was like, no, there's actually a roof outside that window, and there could actually be somebody there. Shut the drapes.
Yep.
And I found myself like peeking around corners, and I was definitely creeped out by this movie. So totally a thumbs up.
Totally
a thumbs up.
What about you, Keith? What are your final thoughts on the movie, and would you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
This is 2 thumbs up for me. I love this movie. It has a couple
You don't get
flaws.
2, you only get 1.
I would give this 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's a near masterpiece to me, even though with flaws and all. It's one of the formative movies that started my love with the horror genre. I think Michael Myers is the best slasher, the most intriguing slasher. I love this movie. Certainly a thumbs up from me. What about you, Kelly?
Oh, absolutely. For all the reasons I mentioned, thumbs up. It's a great movie. It's fun. It's, again, not without its flaws. The teenager banter is it's totally annoying. Some of the kills are a little bit slapsticky, but the creepiness balances out real well. And if you allow yourself to kind of fold into this movie in this world, it kind of sticks with you. And I can totally see Jamie closing all the windows. The only problem is if you close the windows and somebody could get to the roof, then that means that somebody could be literally on the other side of that window and you wouldn't even know it because your windows are closed. Oh. Scary.
You've met Hella. I'd know it.
You got to install external lighting and then keep your inside completely dark.
What if you looked out your...
Again,
what if
you've met Hella. I'd know.
What if you looked out your window and it was just pale white Leonard Nimoy face? Ah!
Well,
Oh, Spock could totally come in. I'd invite Spock in.
Not Kirk, though.
she's like, yeah, come on in.
Very logical.
Live long and prosper right in here. So yeah, that was a classic 1978 movie, Halloween, which obviously did really well.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt, but just the live long and prosper. Give them the Spocker.
No. Oh.
My brain wouldn't.
Two in the pink, two in the. Never mind. We're gonna.
My brain
Anyway,
wouldn't let it go.
one of the cool things about this movie too is that its budget was $300,000 to $325,000 according to Wikipedia, and its box office was $70 million.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now you can see why so many slasher movies came afterwards, and obviously won a bunch of awards. John Carpenter went on to be incredibly famous. Same with Jamie Lee Curtis. Donald Pleasance, not quite as much, but he definitely found his place in the in cult movie Hall of Fame.
He steals the show though for the movie. I think he
does.
He's like, this is how low budget this movie was. I believe it was filmed. It was filmed off season. It wasn't in the fall. So, one, they spray painted a bunch of leaves orange and red and brown, and two, they packed them up into bags after each shoot, and each time you see leaves like fluttering in the wind, that's literally someone just out of frame, like hand tossing leaves around, and then they'd rake them back up.
And they'd get them back up and move them to the next scene, yeah.
Yeah.
You saying that makes perfect sense, because there was one scene where there were like clumps of leaves.
Yeah.
Like, it was just little clumps of leaves all over the place. I was like, that looks so staged.
How does that happen in a yard? That
Right.
The yard is completely green everywhere, but this clump of leaves right over here in a little pile.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was like they just didn't want, they were half-assing it, and they didn't want to spread them out good, because then they had to rake them up. So we're just going to put little clumps of leaves around.
God, that had to be really hot for them to be walking around in all those sweaters and shit, too.
Mm-hmm.
Movie lighting during the daytime in the summer. Ugh. But
And I have to say that this is like my second mom's favorite movie ever. So R.I.P. Sherry, this one's for you.
Very nice. She had good taste.
yeah, there you go. This is the first movie of our Screamshare and Thrill. Right? Yeah. Next will be my pick for my favorite, or one of my favorite scary Halloween movies coming up. I have a pretty good idea. It's between two movies, and I don't want to say them out loud just in case I pick the one that other people, a lot of people will pick. Rather, I pick the other one. But I think either one would be a good Halloween movie. I think you all will enjoy them. Probably have already seen them before. So
I
Is it
can't
Halloween Town?
wait. I can't wait. I love spooky movies, and I can't wait.
Me too. I'm excited. This is my favorite time of year.
no, it's between The Crow 2 and The Crow 3. That's what I'm trying to. Oh, RSVP.
I
Brandon
can
Lee.
wait. I can wait.
All right. Well, so thank you very much for joining us. You know where all the tricks are, where we hang out on Discord, we hang out on Facebook. You can find us at ko-fi.com/screenshare. You can even email us at ssandchill@gmail.com. But otherwise, support us, throw us a review, throw us a comment, throw us a like. If you want to
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends all about us. We put a lot of time and effort into making these things as fun as we can, because we enjoy talking about movies, and we figure you might want to listen to somebody talk about movies while you're doing your thing.
Make other people like the things that you like. Be like me.
Speaking of making people do things, you can make us watch a movie of your choice. You go to our ko-fi.com/screenshare, and one of the options is to force us to watch any movie of your choosing, as long as it's legal. We will watch anything, and we will comment on it, and we will tell you whether you are right or wrong, whether people that like it are big dummies or if they're brilliant masterminds. Other than that, I think that's about all I gotta say. So while you're out there this Halloween, be safe. Don't turn any quarters, and if somebody does try to kill you, stab them. Keep stabbing them.
Don't hold on to the knife.
Hold on to the knife.
Yeah, don't just throw it and put it in their hands. Don't be a dummy. And you know what? If you need help with deadbolts, you can practice before that day gets here. Just go home, practice with your deadbolt a few times. Your life will thank you for it.
Some WD-40 will go a long way.
All right, well, for Screenshare and Chill, I'm Kelly.
I'm Keith.
I'm Jamie.
Bye. Where are we going to have sex? We're going to have sex. We're totally going to have sex tonight. Oh my God, the sex is going to be so sexy.
Because you're clapping those cheeks.
If you don't stop this, I'm going to call the police. You go ahead, talk!